This is A View from the Bridge, official podcast of the Belfast Giants for kingdomofthegiants.com. Today's Wednesday, the 30th of November, 2022. Last day of November, first day of December. Did anybody get that elf on the shelf? Get it out. 1st of December tomorrow.
Get it out.
We're live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and you can download us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor FM, and load more of your normal podcast providers. On this week's show, it was a tough weekend for the Belfast Giants on the road, still struggling to pick up points against Guildford, but a real battling win in Coventry to keep them rolling in. We'll get to the game shortly. Jackson Whistle's our guest on the fan agenda. We'll have the news and dops from around the league and that sort of stuff. The Friendship 4 was a remarkable success. We'll give it a look and check back with the victorious captain. It's Player of the Month time, and the Giants return home at last. Manchester in town for a double header. Mr. McJimsey, it was good to see you at the weekend.
I caught up with everybody at the weekend. Just the whole AVFTB were in the same place, almost at the same time. But
almost
yeah,
it
was a lot of fun at the weekend. So many people to thank for letting me be involved in some small way. But it was really nice to be home first and foremost, and home's where the hockey is. And it was definitely a really good weekend.
It was very much fun. I thought you did a fine job on television, David.
Thanks very much. It was a lot of fun. I wasn't expecting that, so it was something that
we'll have a little taste of that later on. Don't worry.
No, that's not.
Joel, he's wearing a hat.
Yeah, I couldn't take it. It's been a long day, boys. I just couldn't take the extra abuse about the Barnet tonight. I feel like we've all I've had quite a day today. We've all sort of crash landed into our chairs tonight and hit the go button. But listen, why change the habit of a lifetime?
I pulled the curtain back. Basically, this show was more or less put together till about 2 minutes ago. I'm still writing the agenda. It's still not finished. Still not finished. We've still got stuff being worked on right now. Yeah, but yeah, we've got a hell of a show. We're going to get to the games in just a bit, but we're going to invite on one of our favorite people. One person I was delighted to see at the weekend to up into as part of the Friendship 4, but she's here to talk about more important things. Laura.
Hello.
Laura.
You creatures.
You right?
Yeah, I'm great, thanks. How are you guys?
The weekend seemed hectic.
The weekend was very busy, but it actually went really well and really smoothly, but there was plenty of moving parts, we'll say.
Everybody I spoke to who was part of the setup or working behind the scenes were all, especially on Friday, before it also, we're all going, there's so much going on, we've got so much to do, we got to do it. But it seemed to go off without a hitch, which is fantastic. Yeah. Just shows you how well the system works.
Sure.
But you're here to talk to us about more important things. And to start with, it's that time of year again. It's Teddy Toss time.
It is indeed Teddy Toss time. So I'm going to go over just a couple of things about the Teddy Toss in general that are the same every year. If you're going to bring a teddy, please bring a brand new one. Do not bring a teddy that you've had in the back of your cupboard for years. And I know that sounds unbelievable, but the Harrods Bear from 2000, sweet as it is, it can't go to a hospital. It's been in your cupboard for 22 years. Folk. Sorry. Please bring it in a bag. We will have some bags that you can use, but obviously we can't have enough bags for everybody. So please bring it in a bag. That's A, to protect it from when it gets all wet and gross when it goes on the ice, and 2, obviously to keep it as clean as possible before we take it into a sterile environment. This will be our first time being able to go back into the hospital since 2019. So very excited. The other times we've just been, just last year, bringing them up. So we're excited to go back. I don't want to sound ungrateful, but we're almost getting to the point that we have too many teddies. There's limited places that will really take them just because of their nature of being able to susceptible to retain germs, and just they're not for everybody. So we've been talking with one of our partners, Kill FM, and their Cash for Kids Christmas Mission Appeal. This year they've had 11,500 applicants for presents, which is, I don't want to cry.
I know.
That's really awful. Yeah. So I'm asking really nicely, and again, not ungratefully, if you're considering, I know that times are tough for everybody, so I don't want anyone to think this is what I'm saying you need to do, but if you are considering spending £20 on teddies, that's super kind, but maybe consider paying like £5 for a teddy, because I get people want the novelty of actually throwing it on the ice, and I totally understand that. Maybe you buy like a £5 or £10 in a teddy, and then spend the extra money on a gift if you would be willing to. They gave us really good, I can never say this word, specifics about what to buy, rather than just like saying buy for teenagers. I'm like, well, I don't know what a teenager wants apart from money. So they gave us really good items. So like the 2 grips that they get the least for are babies, and they're looking for, and we'll have this on socials as well. I'm not expecting anybody to remember me rattling it off. Well, the first thing is rattles, baby care products, and baby books, hats, teethers. And then, what are you laughing at, Davy?
I'm not. I'm just thinking I've got some of this in the wrist space you could have.
You don't want your old moldy stuff. Stop giving out your kids' stuff. And then teenagers, headphones, speakers, power banks, socks, beanies, no link sets. She did highlight that. Makeup, football stuff. So we'll have a collection point for that. Please don't throw that on the ice. We'll have a collection point for that at door 1 on Saturday. And actually, we'll probably have it on Sunday as well. I love it, Alan. Good work. So we're just asking people to consider, as much as you absolutely love throwing the teddies on, and it's great, and it's a fun thing, that there are people really in need this year, even more so than other years. So to consider maybe spending less or diverting your money onto a gift. So that's all about the teddy toss, really. Or if anybody knows somewhere that can so every year we also get lots of teddies that we can't use because they're dirty, or anyway. So they generally go to a dog.
Well loved.
Pre-loved. They go to a dog shelter. So if anybody else has anything like that, or that they know of that they could be used for, please feel free to let me know. Laura at belfastgiants.com.
Obviously, last time we had on was regards to the organ donation day and all that sort of stuff. How did that go?
Oh, it went really, really well. They always have people coming up who just want to talk to and say, I've heard about it, I've thought about it, I'm really not sure if it's for me. And then they all have a good discussion about it, and then they realize but they come to the conclusion that it is for them, and that they really, I know it sounds so basic, but you just don't need them anymore, and they could save somebody's life. Why would you not do it? And then the following week, after Organ Donation Week, we had stem cell testing.
Yes.
Which we were kind of nervous about, because it's not something people do that often. But the McKeever's Pharmacy, they came from Uri to do it for us, and they had more people sign up and take part in it that night than they'd had in 3 months in their shop. So That was fantastic. On that note, that kid that kind of started that whole campaign, Daniel, he is doing really, really well. His family put out an update on him today, which is fantastic. It just shows you how incredible it is to give your stem cells, which is literally taken through blood. No biggie. Like, most people have to give blood or get their blood taken for a blood test at some point. So that went really well, but that brings us into our next organ donation thing. And I know people are like, she's always banging on about that, but it's always an issue, and it applies to literally every single person. Whether, I get it that you don't need an organ, but you have the ability to give it if that happens to you. So that's why I'm always going to bang on about it. Anyway, it's Organ Donation Discussion Day on the 11th of March. 11th of March? No, the 11th of December. 11th of March is my dad's birthday. Yeah. Sorry.
Put that in the diary as well, though.
Big John's birthday, 11th of March.
11th of December. So we'll be doing our usual, having a stand on the bridge for people to come up and chat to the experts about organ donation. The importance about this day is, even if you sign the register, and Martin talked about this the last time he was on, even if you sign the register, your family will still make the ultimate decision in that moment. So tell your family. It's an awkward conversation. Nobody really wants to talk about dying. I get that. I'm the biggest crier there is, and the thought of it, or my parents or my friends or whatever. I mean, don't call me tiny tears for fun. I'm a gardener, but I want my parents to know that if I go before them or something happens to me, that I 100% want everything given, if they can take whatever they can take. And it's letting people know that is 100% what you want. There's no decision for them to make, really. Because in that moment, that's a tough moment, and you're not thinking about somebody else. You're thinking about the fact that you're losing the person that you love. So if you can take that decision away from them, and they know that that's what you want, that's incredible. So that's why we're a big push on organ donation discussion day as well.
As you can see, Joel's done a really good Movember. It's we've been seeing the stuff. We've been seeing the stuff.
4 weeks ago, yeah.
We've been seeing the stuff that the Giants have been putting up on the Twitter, and like how the lads' the moustaches are going in regards to Movember. It's been going really well.
Some lick on some people, I tell you.
That's why I don't do it. It's like it just would look ridiculous.
Yeah, me too. That's why I don't.
I'll run a half marathon before put a grow mustache. That's how bad.
I'd shaved my head before. The boys have done a really good job, and I'm sure their other halves will be delighted when it's time to take it off. Overall, between the jersey sales and the November, we've done really well. We haven't got our overall figure yet, but I'm just asking people for the last. Was asking for something. That last big push. Today is the last day. If you've got a pound, if you've got £2, if you've got £50, if you've got whatever, if you'd like to donate, that would be really gratefully received. I just want to give a big thank you to everybody for supporting it, whether it was they bought a ticket for Shirt Off the Back, or they donated, or they just shared posts about it, because we've had some interesting experiences during it. We've had Action Mental Health come in and give a talk to the boys about mental health, about being aware of other people's mental health. You might be like, I don't have mental health issues. Well, that's great. You don't right now, but who knows what happens down the line. But it's also being about aware of your teammate or your friend or your family member that they may have mental health problems, and be able to reach out and help them. So they came in and give us a talk. And then last week, Action Cancer, who is our site charity partner for the year, they came after practice and gave us a chat about men's health. And they looked at cancers, 5 main cancers that affect men: testicular, prostate, skin, bowel, and lungs. So that was great little sort of things to do to check yourself, what to look for. So we've had lots going on during November. So it's been a great month and gone really well, I think.
It never stops, Loris, with the work that you guys do, because there's the AGNI activity in W5 as well. So
yes, we've been a site-wide now. It's not all about the Giants.
Yeah, I agree.
Sure. So like you guys, I know your charity partner this year is AGNI. So W5 decided they were going to do the absolute sweetest paper activity this Christmas. So if you're visiting W5 with your kids, or like, I'm sure they'll not say no to adults there, because let's be honest, I'm absolutely going to do this. They have got in touch with AGNI, and they've got all the names of the people that come to the day centres, and then all the people that they also have. So they have 2 different things. They have day centres where people can come to, and then they have people who are visited in their own home. Now, these are generally people who don't have anybody else in their life. So W5 have got a tree with little tags on it, and it has somebody's name on it. These are all people. Oh yeah, David, you know it.
Can't deal with that kind of thing.
Most likely not receive a Christmas card from somebody. So your child can come and draw a Christmas card and pick somebody off the tree, and it'll say like, I'm Petra 87, or may not say their age, it might just say their name, and you can make a Christmas card for them. And then on the 15th, we will give those over to AGNI, and they will make sure that they are distributed to everybody. So
will you pick a couple off the tree for me?
Of course I will. It would be my pleasure.
I'll send a couple.
The
tree before then.
That's do you know what? That's fantastic. Like, probably
not my idea. I do not want to take the credit for that. That is not my idea.
Such a lovely idea.
They came to me with it, and then I said, why don't you team up with AGNI podcast, or teaming up with them, and it all just flows nicely with what we're doing. So if you're looking for a kid, people are looking to what to take their kids to at Christmas, take them to W5 and make a card for a little person who's by themselves.
That's wonderful.
What a cute thing to do. I love it.
There's so much going on. There's so much going on. Have I forgotten about anything? Is there anything?
Well, Pride's up next, but we'll not start on that yet.
We'll get into that. Listen, all that stuff we'll be putting up on the likes of Twitter and keeping it in the forefront of our minds with regards to especially come up to Christmas time and all the stuff that need to be, people preparing for Christmas, but also those that are well off as ourselves, people who are in hospital, people who have nobody to send them Christmas cards, and the work that you guys do, Laura, especially yourself, with regards to promoting all of this is wonderful, and more power to your elbow. It's something you should be very proud of, because we're very proud of what you do.
Oh, right, Davy. Davy, what is wrong with me? Random
Right.
today. You guys thought you did today?
It happened to me at the weekend too. Somebody called me Paddy. So
did they?
Yeah.
Well, I just call that balancing it out now, so it's all good.
It was me.
Laura, it's been fabulous having you on.
That was a lot of me talking. So
that's fine. That's fine. That's what we're here for. That's what we're here for. And hopefully people who are watching in or listening in either live or will get involved in all the things that are going on. And thanks, Laura.
For having me, and thanks for supporting everything we do. You guys are the best.
Thanks, Malzave.
Bye.
The best.
Fantastic to have Laura back on, and so much going on. Like I say, we'll stick it up on Twitter and on Facebook, and it likes to sort of promote it a bit more. Everything from the Teddy Toss, the organ donation, Movember, HNI, and a hell of a lot more. Right? Should we talk about hockey?
Yeah, why not?
Let's talk about the Belfast Giants, and we'll start off with the games. Sorry, we'll start off with the game that took place on Saturday in Surrey against the Guildford Flames. The Belfast Giants have had trouble with the Guildford Flames this season so far, and so it remained. A 2-1 win for the Flames. The Flames goals coming from Joel and Tate. The Giants scoring in the final minutes, Derek and Jelly. In regards to goals, Jackson Whistle, 23 shots against, 2 goals against. Eamon McAdam, 35 shots against, 1 goal against. Refs for Matt Rose and Stefan Hogarth. Davey, why did we struggle with the Guildford Flames?
That's a great question.
I think it's fair to say, I always talk about being a no excuse organization. We've gone to the Guildford Flames with the choice of 6 regular imports that we have unavailable for action. On the back end, Sammy Rupp, you've got Kevin Wainwright up. Sorry, that.
Still sound. There we go.
But up front, Soisy, Butcher, Gilbert, Hales, Coops, all out injured at the minute. So that any team, there's 6 players, 2 lines. Any club in the league would want to have in their team. I actually think that we had the lion's share of certainly the first 20 minutes of the game. Could have taken the lead. Unfortunately, then half an hour into the game, the Flames have gone 1 up, maybe just after half an hour into the game, and then it kind of changes the tilt of the game. That second period's always hard, the long chains and stuff, and the Giants hung in there. Unfortunately for us, I think we just meant that one little mental mistake in that third period as it was, where we were pushing into the game. We've all collapsed to one side. There's a little mental mistake, and Tate is quick. Tate comes probably off the bench, but certainly down the left wing and breaks in. I don't know whether we get to see it or not. Might just be coming up here actually. And they go 2 up, and then at that stage you're really pushing the game. And we've pulled Jackson Whistle at the end and came up with the empty netter. It's worked, but unfortunately we weren't able to get a second. I think over the course of the game, this will be one. Even though we were so short benched, we probably could have won. I don't think it sounds really, oh, look at us, a full squad. We beat the Guildford Flames, and it's just that loss was down to the attritional nature of having to play so short-bodied and with virtually half your team out. You're out 14 imports with 6 out. So in terms of that, we've got high quality British talent and Lewis Hook coming back and Ben Lake, etc., Scott Conway, but it was just too much for us on the night. I thought it was a good performance. A game we could have won statistically, maybe should have won, but we didn't.
We didn't. Joel, we said it. I'm going to ask a question about the Guildford Flames later, but we talk about the attrition, and a lot of the chat from people at the Friendship 4, especially on Friday, was, how short are we going into this weekend and how difficult is it going to be? And it proved really difficult, but you've got to applaud the fact that they dug deep.
100%. It was the story of the weekend was resolving, digging deep, maybe more so in the next game that we'll come on to talk about. But Davey says it there. You're going into a really tough weekend on the road, missing 6 bodies at the end of a really tough month on the road. We managed to bolster the ranks with obviously Lewis Hook. Thank God he was back. Sean Norris, who I thought was really good again. I thought he moved really well. He nearly scored in the first period as well. I really like Sean Norris from what I've seen of him. And obviously Mac and Kell were kind of called from their two-way contracts. I sound like a stuck record in recent weeks, but it's really been the story of this road trip for me, where there are minutes in this game where I could have seen the game going a whole different way. Sean Norris in that first period, Scott Conway had a golden opportunity in the mid-slot in the second period. And if one of those goes another way, you're looking at an entirely different hockey game. I think we'll speak to him directly about it soon, but Jackson Whistle was phenomenal throughout this entire weekend, but really stood on his head, especially in this kind of second period, to keep us close. And then Derek Angeli springs up with that late one. Kiefer pulls with, and we go with the 6-on-5 for the last two and just can't find it. The thing that gives me hope, just to try and not repeat myself, the thing that gives me hope is that down so many bodies, we keep encountering the toughest scenarios that you're going to encounter in the Elite League. And if we lose, we're losing by really fine margins. I would love to see us with those full six bodies back, everybody fit and raring to go on a swing like that. We're coming out of the traditional tough period pre-Christmas at batting 500, as they say, and it's definitely not a crisis. I think that the game we'll talk about next was crucial to finish this swing on. But look, I think that you throw this one in the bin and you move on. I think with a full bench, that game goes a different way. Full credit to the Guildford Flames, full credit to Paul Dixon. They're a team who is, I think, shaking the Elite League up. I had a few texts actually from people who aren't really massively into their hockey, but they texted and said, from a bystander's point of view, it's actually good to see the league shaken up a wee bit. Guildford sort of bloody in the nose of the big three, the big four. I don't hate it in terms of the overall product as well. I think that it's good that teams can believe that they can challenge. You've seen sort of flashes over from the Coventry Blaze as well. So full credit to them. They're skating fast, they're scoring goals, and they're defying everybody who said they would fall off a cliff.
One of my best mates lives down around that area and towards Woking. He used to live in Guildford. Anyway, he on Sunday he picked up his son and he said, "Let's go and we'll go and watch a bit of this ice hockey on Sunday." And he went in and watched what was basically Guildford Phoenix, or maybe even below that. And he wasn't sure. He sent me pictures and he was like going, "Who's this playing?" They're playing Slough. So I'm like, I have no idea. Let's have a look and see. I tried to figure out who they were playing. I said, "So why are you there?" And he says, "Oh, well, I thought I'd take Edward down to watch a bit of this ice hockey. Did you go and watch?"
Man.
Mate, literally Belfast played there the day
24
before.
hours previous.
The day before you could have. He said, because he was like, it doesn't seem as quick as the Elite League. It's not the Elite League. The Elite League's not quick, but it's
fine margins, Paddy. Fine margins.
Before. But let me bring it back. Davey did one of the points that Joel just made on Sean Norris. Now, obviously, these guys are on contracts running back and forth between NK and the chances here ultimately. Let's be fair. Norris wants a shot in the Elite League. He wants a regular slot in the Elite League. He's doing himself no harm in that.
He got himself a regular slot certainly on Friday night. 21 shifts, 15 minutes he played. So, you can't say that the coach wasn't putting him into the situations either. Max Stewart played 10 minutes as well. So, they're getting their opportunities. We always talk about seizing the opportunity, earning your ice time whenever the opportunity comes along. And there's opportunities for these guys at the minute. Whenever we've got a full 14 plus 2 rosters, it's harder for these guys to get the ice time because, with the greatest respect, you're going to have a Mark Cooper before you're going to have a Sean Norris. Sean Norris has to become the new Lewis Hook, the new Ben Lake or whatever. So when his opportunities come along, we talked about the Craig Peacocks and stuff. Those young guys got their opportunities in the Elite League and took them, grabbed them, grasped the nettle, as I say, and took it. So Sean Norris can only do what he can do. It's probably a little bit fanciful to expect Craig Peacock, if you like, 2009 production when Craig Peacock was on the top power play line, when Craig Peacock had 2 import wingers sent, producing, the arrows for him to fire. But Sean Norris at the minute is playing a role rather than being expected to come up with points. He's not a top 6 player for us at the minute. So opportunities will come. You look at what him, the likes of Bobby Chamberlain or stuff are doing in the NIHL. So they're high quality NIHL players that are coming in and getting those third line minutes. And yourself, you stick a Kieran Long on the top line with a good one on a Conway. He comes up with a lot of goals. He gets himself power play times, and that all rolls on. Whereas if you put him in the bottom 6 or even in the fourth line, they're not expected to score goals. They're expected to play a role and do it well. So when Sean Norris has come in, he's been asked to play his role. He's done it well, and that's all he can do.
I'm going to bring in a comment here from our good friend Anthony Russell. He says, from an NIHL perspective, don't turn Sean Norris into a loose hook. Why turn one of the NIHL's most natural goal scorers into a third liner? Bleed him in, develop him as what he is.
I would say to Anthony, the problem is that the AIHL isn't a development league, and it's so high risk.
Age old argument.
It's high risk to put Sean. Now, do I think if we put Sean Norris in between Goodwin or on a wing with Goodwin and Conway, that he would score more points? Yes, probably would. Mm-hmm. Is Adam Keefe going to take the risk of putting Sean Norris in rather than Mark Cooper in? If fit, then probably no. So it's difficult to put him anywhere else but the third line and then earn ice time on the third line, hope that a slot in the second line comes up or whatever when you're getting that regular shift. So yeah, I agree with what Anthony's saying, but the setup of this league does not pertain. Every week we can say this in the podcast, 2 points in November are as important as 2 points in March and April. So you cannot risk, no matter what we think Sean Norris's upside is, you can't risk putting him in when you've got a Mark Cooper. That's just how it is. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I've been forever promising Anthony that we'd have some sort of NIHL Elite League discussion where we
get him on. We'll have him on some week. He's a very knowledgeable guy, and it's zero disrespect to Sean Norris or that NIHL. I just don't see how you can put them in.
But Anthony, mark it down. We're going to bring you on. We're going to have a chat about it right here on A View from the Bridge in the coming
ask him. I need him to come back on that. What's the biggest lie in British hockey?
Probably the Elite League is not a development league. I agree with you. I don't think it is, but
it's not.
But then you go. But there's a level of. But if you're bringing these guys from the NIHL, as a point maybe he's making, if you're bringing these guys from the NIHL, you can't just throw them straight into the Elite League. They have to develop into an Elite League player. And how do you develop into the Elite League player? You play more in the Elite League. Therefore, development.
You develop yourself with your 10 minutes a night you get, or the 5 minutes you get, and turn it into 6, 7, 8 minutes or whatever. But you don't get thrown in. You can't expect clubs like Belfast, Sheffield, Cardiff, Nottingham to pay top dollar. I don't know what the wages are, but I can speculate on what a top player in this league gets. 14 of them, bring them over, house them, feed them, car them, and say we're sticking in this kid because we're developing him. Because these guys, Adam Keefe's job is based on hanging banners, and that's it. That's his one job. His job is not to produce somebody for 5 years from now. Nice as that may be, and love to have 10 Belfast-born kids playing for us in 5 years from now. Adam Keefe's one and only job is to win every game. That's his job.
The thing is, there's no dead rubbers in this league, unless of course it's the day after Christmas and you're Nottingham Panthers, because from then on it's more or less dead rubbers. But it's but finally, before we move on, and Anthony, yes, we will bring you onto the show and we will have this discussion. Before we move on, just quickly, and I've asked this question the last time, I'm going to ask it again just briefly before we do. Joel, are the Guildford Flames the real deal?
Still too early to tell for me, and it sounds like a cop-out, but we've said in recent weeks about how you're not looking really at the table in any sort of detail this side of Christmas. If they can survive the congested Christmas schedule, if they can get through January and that kind of month with their squad intact and not have to go and dip into the market and spend money that they probably don't have, and they're still up there and they're still putting a gap on people, then possibly. But it has been how many years since a team surprised us in this league? I can only go by sort of recent results. I think the last time we had a winner that wasn't. The last time one of the small teams won the league, it was on our ice, unfortunately. Yes, You're going back to whenever the Coventry Blaze had a fairly short period of dominance in the mid 2000s. I can't really name you too much after that has been much of a surprise. So time will tell. And listen, it's on Paul Dixon and his very good squad to continue chipping away and continue putting points on the board. And Stephen Mills is right. Momentum and certain things that you can't write down in X's and O's and that you can't read on elite prospects, they're the things that will win you championships. So listen, it's one game at a time. And if they keep putting 2 points on the board, one game after another, who knows? But I'm not looking at it in any sort of serious way until January or the end of January.
I'll put the same question to you, David.
I was asked this question just a number of weeks ago, and I said I didn't think they were the real deal in that I didn't believe they had the depth. But they've avoided injuries and they've avoided, illness and stuff. So they're there and they're there to be shot at. And while they avoid injuries and illness, they've got enough of a top six to carry them. That some very good players we talked about him previously. We talked about him during the games there. Tate is a baller, could play on any team in this league. They've got good British depth as well. Really, really strong goaltending in McAdam.
Always is with Paul Dixon. Always strong goaltending.
They have all the jigsaw pieces. Have they enough for the full puzzle? I don't. Great analysis. Have they got enough to complete a full puzzle? I don't know. It's so hard to tell at this stage. And Joel talks about the Coventry Blaze, and I guess the Coventry Blaze came about. Their dominance came about at the time when the Super League collapsed. EIHL was getting off. They were coming from Solihull into the Blaze. They already had a really, really strong British club, British setup that almost, the Belfast Giants didn't go into the elite. The Belfast Giants stumbled into the league through almost collapsing, and a bit like Sheffield were going through monetary problems and stuff. And Blaze came along as a team ready to go. I can't. What do you call the Chartrand and all those guys? Big. What do you call the big fella? Big black lad. Roman Endure and all. They had some great talent. Yeah, Neil Martin. Neil
Martin dominated in this
list of amazing players that they had pre-built, ready to go. So they weren't shocking. There hasn't really been, as you say, the Panthers would be one, that came along out of the blue and won a league that'd been good in cups, but they hadn't really been able to string anything together. But yeah, as Joel said, over the last lot of years, it's been Sheffield, Belfast, Cardiff, and but Flames are there to be shot at. I think with 33 points, they've got a bit of a gap there, 6 points, 3 games of a gap, and it's hard to pull them back. Would I rather have the points in the bag? I think at this stage I would.
Absolutely. The highlights from that from Flames TV on YouTube, and we'll move on to the game the next day, which was a little bit better for the Belfast Giants, if a bit attritional. 5-3 win in the Sky Dome against the Coventry Blaze. Blaze shot out to a lead, 2-0 lead with Ripley and Colton Yellowhorn before the Giants pegged them back through Will Cullen. Great finish from Will Cullen. And Lewis Hook, welcome back, Hookie, made it 2-2. Talberg made it 3-2 to the Blaze, but Derek and Jelly and then Steve Ari with a power play goal, and Ari again into the empty net gives the 5-3 victory. Pavel Holsa in goal for the Coventry Blaze, 27 shots against, 4 goals against. And our guest in a few minutes' time, Jackson Whistle, 29 shots against, 3 goals against. Tom Herring and Oliver Truswell were the 2 referees. Joel, short on bodies, probably tired from a tough game in Guildford. They dug deep, they took the win.
Another stressful Sunday, another story quite like the one in Sheffield. The Coventry had their success in this game by getting in close. The first goal was, I think, what do you call the guy that scored the first goal? Sorry, you literally just said it. Either way, got his goal.
Nathan Ripley.
Ripley, he got his goal by taking a sort of 3 or 4 hacks at a loose puck in a goal by scramble, and it was that kind of last hack that did it. The second one was off a fairly juicy rebound. So they did well and go into the net and go into the dirty areas to get their lead up. But, if you're Danny Stewart in that game, you would be expecting a lot more from a Coventry Blaze team who have had a hot start to the season. The first period intermission, I don't know what witchcraft or what spell was cast in that room. If I was to be honest, I'm not a betting man unless the World Cup's on, but if I was to bet on it, I would say that Adam Keefe had a moment or two to remind that team of who they were. It's easy at the end of a month on the road to be kind of bedraggled, be just looking towards the end of it. I think I would guess that there was a reminder of who that team was, because they came out in that second period as an entirely different team with a whole new resolve. We talked about how important it was to have Lewis Hook back in the lineup. There's Hookie straight in with a 1+1. The Coventry Blaze, I think, were shocked by the Giants' resurgence in the second period, because they were, particularly defensively, absolutely everywhere. They were fragmented throughout most of that second period. Once again, defense being the best form of offense, there was a monstrous 5-on-3 kill that I think contributed massively to us winning that game. Derek Angeli came out from one of the softest roughing calls I've ever seen, and exacted his revenge with a goal pretty much straight away. Again, you talk about championship pedigree and the things that you can't see on paper. The Giants defensively withstand the boys around that crease in the last 2 minutes as the world came down on them, and the Blaze searched for their way back into it. That was some monumental defending, some heroic defending, quite similar to what we've seen in recent weeks. This was a game when our character emerged again, with the odds against this, because you had your 6 missing, plus Norris wasn't available, so you were effectively down kind of 7 bodies, and I think we're 3 short of even filling a match night roster. So this is as much of a character win as you will see from the Belfast Giants at the end of a massive month on the road.
I'm going to be hypocritical, Davy, and I had a chat with a good refereeing friend of ours. I believe you had a chat with him as well at the weekend.
He came down to see me, yeah. Sent by you, he said.
Down the Alton, no?
I said to him, I'm not going to mention the high stick that was before the I think the game winning goal, because we don't talk about that when it's in Belfast Giants' favour. However, when it comes to this game, Davy, character building, really.
Yeah, well, we got ourselves a couple behind, and then it was all, it's all or nothing. You've got another, 30 minutes, boys, the weekend, and then you've got a few days off. So going through everything at it, you've guys like Gabe Bass playing over half an hour in a game. That's every other shift, if not more, and coming up with really high level players and a few points as well. There's Owie scoring, or Steve Ari scoring the 150-foot empty netter just to get that insurance goal. I think Joel talked about the 5-on-3 that they got and we killed, and then we've got our own 5-on-3 and scored. It's a big momentum swing there, as you talk about, and from being 2-0 down to getting back in the game at 2 each, and then being pegged back again to 3-2, and then just coming back 3-4-5 and going through them. Lewis Hook with that first one, carrying it up the ice, and oh, there it is, actually just nice timing there. He carries it up, gets robbed. Ben Lake comes from another postcode here, steams in, does it. D-man flips it, tries to flip it out. Colin picks it off at the blue line and just steps in, as he's been doing really, really well. Colin Bass, like all those guys are having to play. You've got Sam Rue up out, you've got Kevin Rain out. Kel Beattie was there, played very limited ice time, so those guys are all expected to put an awful lot of effort in over, what's basically 2 games within 24 hours of each other. Very, very hard when you're so short-bodied. And, Jackson's going to come on in a few minutes, and he'll talk about just, I guess, what it's like at the minute. 6 bodies short. I know we set up this season and it was all going to be, we're carrying the extra couple of imports from the CHL, but we've had precious little games where we've been able to have that extra man. I know we had it a few times early in the season, but over the last 6 weeks, it's been, one thing after another. So to come out of Coventry, yes, it's Coventry. To come out of there with 2 points is absolutely fabulous after the disappointment. And I say it again, we probably should have taken the win in Guildford. I thought we did enough. Talk about goalies, he's coming on in a minute. He's given us a chance to win in Guildford, conceded 2 goals, and we probably haven't converted the chances. One reason, other bars here and there, little ones hacking and whacks that didn't go in. So I think over the weekend it could have been more productive. But you would have taken, before we went into that with 6 guys down, you'd have taken a split in a heartbeat. So I think all in all, a really strong weekend for us. I'm gonna
rock things on a little bit here, just because we've got Jackson waiting. But before we bring him in, just briefly, obviously that was 6 games on the road before we come back in this weekend, and that's 6 games, and we run 500 on those 6 games. Lost to Nottingham, Guildford, and Sheffield. Wins against Sheffield, Coventry, and Manchester. As a return, Davy, given the attrition that we've been and given the bodies down, it's fair enough, I think.
Yeah, I think you've got to be happy enough to take 500 on the road with what we've been. Adam will be disappointed, and a lot of boys will be disappointed because we came so close in a few of the games. Guildford, I think, again, where else did we lose? Nottingham might have got a wee bit more, but your Nottingham night, we had guys like Soyes went out the night before. I think Sam went out either during the game or just prior to the game. It's been really hard. You're missing Mark Cooper. You're missing one of the very best. You're missing a league MVP there. So 500 with what's going on. Let's just hope this week somebody can get better or, get healthy for the weekend and another body or two come back in. We're home. We're back home. And that's a big bonus as well.
Joel, I'm just going to assume you agree because I'm going to move things forward. And we're going to move it on to the fan agenda, brought to you by our good friends at Belfast Giants Television. It's the reigning, for now, player of the month for October. And a man who's been playing a lot of games recently and doing fantastically well. Please welcome back to View from the Bridge, Jackson Whistle. How you doing, Wiss?
Yeah. What's happening? How are we doing?
Yeah, doing really well. We'll start off just quickly. Your assessment of the weekend gone by against Guildford and Coventry.
No, I thought it was good. Kind of just like I caught the tail end of what you guys were saying there. And obviously, going into the weekend, every weekend you go in and play, you wanted to win both games, obviously going into it. But I thought the guys did a really good job. And like you kind of said, we've been dealing with a little bit of adversity right now. And I think, just to go in there and, had the chance to win both those games, even though we only won one, shows a lot of character in the room and kind of the group effort that's been going on behind the scenes right now.
When you're down as many bodies as we are, is it difficult for sort of to adapt? Because obviously lines are going to change, approach is going to change.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, obviously it's going to be a little different, but I think it's a good opportunity as well to, for certain guys to get the opportunity to step up. You're going to play more minutes, get more chances. And I think, for myself as well, getting to play a lot more, other guys getting to play a lot more, obviously you welcome that opportunity as well too.
You've talked there, Wes, about opportunities and stuff, and yourself and Peyton have been given the team opportunities to win. We've been low scoring. Defeats have been low scoring. We haven't really been blown away by anybody. Even Guildford there, we've only conceded 2. From a goaltending point of view, you can't do much more than what you are doing.
No, yeah. I mean, obviously, there's little things that we pick out of our own games that we think we can do better every single time. Obviously, his goal is you don't think should ever be scored on. But, yeah, I think the team's done a really good job, especially defensively. Guys really battle really hard. And the system that Kiefer plays is quite beneficial as well, too. I don't know if you talked to you guys a little about it the other night there at the coaches seminar about how we play defensively. It helps us out a lot as well.
Let's talk about. Let's critique then the first goal in Coventry on Sunday night. See, you've asked for it now. Talk us through what you could have done.
The whiteboard, Davy.
It was just the first one, from what I remember. It was just ended up being kind of a scramble in front. So obviously you're kind of battling for the puck. The D-men are kind of hacking and whacking at it at the same time too. And it just kind of turns into a net front battle that we ended up losing, to be honest with you. And our guy just ended up banging it in. I don't know if it was his first goal or what, but they were grabbing the puck afterwards as well too. And I was like, oh no. But so that was the first one. Then I think the second one was a point shot, a rebound. I didn't even see it go in after the rebound. And that's kind of especially in Coventry, you guys have probably seen the rink a lot before. It's a smaller, I don't want to say dingier kind of rink, but it's a smaller arena. Stuff's bouncing around, flying around like crazy, and you can't see a whole lot out there. So, but obviously I would have liked those two back. And then the third one was a shot, rebound guy kind of caught it out of the air and then banged it in right away. And then we kind of battled back from there and ended up winning.
Talk about just one thing. Sorry, Joel, I know you're coming there, but you talk about, and would say euphemistically, the dinginess of, say, a Coventry or a Manchester, whatever. Talk about the new lights at the arena. Is that helping the game or hurting the game? Is it easier now in Belfast with the really good lighting in there?
Yeah, it's way better. We had a bit of an incident, I think, at the start of the year where they're only turning. I don't know if the leagues are doing it right now or the teams are doing it where they're only turning on half the lights or something. So a lot of the rinks, if you actually look around, they're quite dark on the inside. Yeah. So the new lights make it way better, 10 times better.
Yeah. You should play it at Whitley Bay, where it was darker at one side than it was at the other.
Here he goes.
Yeah, no, I haven't been lucky enough to go there yet.
Half the ice was just water, mate. We talk. There's been a lot of talk this season, and I'm sure we'll talk about it a bit here about your sort of growth and development, Wes, and it's been really lovely to see from sort of the freshly turned pro goalie who came to Belfast, but nothing more so to me. In my first in Wes's first year in Belfast, I was his next door neighbor, and I had to take my wife into his apartment to put his Christmas tree up. So, I mean, I'm gonna say it's probably Dempsey, to be fair, but God bless that woman, man. That is looking good. That is a good tree. I'm really proud of you tonight.
She got it sorted for me and everything. When I was originally gonna sit over at my desk there and do it, and they said, "We gotta get the tree in the background." So here we are.
super proud of you with. No, and it is. I mean, it's no coincidence to me. You're playing the best hockey of your career, or certainly since your days in the Dub. You seem very settled in Belfast. You seem really happy here. But crucially, I feel as well that you're much more comfortable with your body. We talked, in your early seasons about the sort of niggling injuries that were hanging on in there, kind of problems with your hips and stuff. Has it all just sort of fallen into place in your head this past year?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you probably know better than most, seeing me after games and we'd go out and hang out or grab something, I could barely walk and stuff like that. And, I was moving around like an 80-year-old man before. So ever since really COVID, to be honest with you, like getting that kind of year off of playing, not going down, like not playing. Since then, it's felt really good, to be honest with you. The Elite Series last year and then this year. So now just kind of getting that opportunity to play a little bit more, I think it gets maybe more noticed. But ever since then, my body's been feeling a lot better.
Can I ask you a quick one as well? Just it's one of those things that we don't really get to see an awful lot in our league. Obviously, whenever you headed to Sheffield for that doubleheader, you were coming up against your brother Brandon, who is finding some stride of his own, it has to be said as well. He physically looks really good. He's playing some great hockey. Do you enjoy that? Do you revel in that as an opportunity to kind of go against your brother, or does it fill you with dread that he might stick one past you?
We have a tie-in question there as well from John Stewart asking more or less the same thing.
Yeah, no, the family group chat was popping off before the weekend, so I was making sure he wasn't scoring. And I remember in the first game, he had a half-decent opportunity where I poke-checked him, and then he even had a shot, too, where it kind of hit me and went off to the side. And I was like, oh, there's no way I can let him score. So I don't know. We'll see what happens when we play him again. But like you kind of said there, he's doing a lot better. He did a lot of things kind of right away from the rink to become a better pro, and it's paying off right now for him in Sheffield, and hopefully that goes well for him throughout the year, just not against us.
Amen to that.
That's the way you want it. Going to go to a couple of ones online. The guys at Boomerang Corner asking, "Was fair to say you've reached a new level this season? Your confidence in the crease is clear to see. What do you feel has what's helped to contribute to you taking that next step?" I guess it's also related to what you were saying earlier in regards to getting over injuries.
Yeah, just feeling a bit better. And I think, too, obviously getting the chance to work behind Besko last year, I think helps as well, too. Just kind of, looking at the way he prepares for certain games. And I think for myself as a player, when I was younger, I had no problem getting up for the big games. I've always done, well in those kind of games against the top teams and things like that. It was actually the bottom teams where I seemed to kind of, for some reason or other, kind of struggle. And, just from watching him last year and seeing how well he does and, kind of the game within the game and how calm he was playing and just controlling it. That's kind of something I've taken into this year as well, too. Just, at those, certain times, not letting in a bad goal at a certain time or just getting a whistle every now and then just to help the guys calm down, I think helps out a lot.
One from Scott Cameron saying, does your mental game have to change knowing the team is short on bodies just now? He certainly noticed that you found an extra gear in the last few weeks.
Maybe a little bit. I think you're obviously, I kind of prepare the same way every day, no matter what. Obviously, you might, maybe you're thinking to yourself, you might get a little bit more work or something like that, or knowing that's going to be a little bit of a battle, which I think we've all the players, myself included, have kind of known going into the weekend. So your game kind of, maybe you think a little bit more about it or prepare a little bit more, but usually you kind of prepare the same way across the board.
Just one thing from me, Wes. Obviously, Peyton and you goalies have to be tight. You've had Murph and Dicko nearly married to each other. You have to form a really close bond. And is Peyton's such an easy guy to get along with? Are you doing well off the ice and on the ice together?
Yeah, 100%. We hang out off the ice as well, too. And even, we do a lot of stuff together to make each other better. In practices, we go out every single day, 15 minutes, certainly do a lot of work, talk to one another about kind of things we're doing well, things we weren't doing well. We have a very good relationship so far, and he's a really good goalie and is an extremely hard worker as well, too, to be honest with you. So it's kind of a good battle between the two of us. And obviously both of us want to play, and that's kind of, the life of being a goalie. So whoever keeper gives the nod to, you just want that guy to do well and then kind of go from there.
And one last one from me, like Besko was a really vocal talker on the ice, like really, he directed operations. You and Peyton of the summer, do you learn that kind of things from the likes of Besko? Are you vocal on the ice? What's your thing?
I've always been pretty vocal on the ice, especially even from when I was younger, it helps your D-men out a lot. When they're coming back for pucks and things like that, just kind of telling them what kind of options they have. So those kind of things. And as well, too, just knowing with the team that we have, and the experience we have and guys that know how to win. Just kind of like the other night, if you get down a couple goals, knowing that you're fine. You know what I mean? Like, just let's go out next period and get ready to go. We're good. You know what I mean? So we'll kind of say those kind of things, but that's really about it.
Just before you go there, Joel, did you get a chance to come down to the rink on Friday and see any of the NCAA and see those goalies in operation?
I watched the first 2 periods. I think we were doing a signing as well too, so I saw 2 periods of it.
But like unreal talent, like, and big guys. I don't know
7
who was
foot
playing
tall.
in the first.
Did you see that guy? I've never seen
Cooper,
like it.
Cooper Black was 6. He was on. I was standing behind his net, and he was down on his pads, and his shoulders were above the crossbar. It was just gigantic.
Yeah, no, I wish I was that tall, but way to go, Dave. I know.
I was kind of looking at it the other way though. Like, I've never seen a goalie. I think it was Adam McKendry sitting beside me said this. Look how low he holds his glove just because of the size of his frame. That guy's, even watching him made my lower back hurt. So I don't know if you're looking to be a big tall guy. I guess the only other thing for me was it sort of is a lead on. And I do have a certain degree of pride having watched you develop and come back to Belfast and hitting the stride the way you have. But I also think you are very visibly sort of growing and developing as a person too. And I see a calmness and I see a confidence and I see a genuine happiness to be back in Belfast specifically. And, you know, for those who are maybe new Belfast Giants fans or haven't been around a long time or don't know the story, you were obviously here as a very young kid with Brandon and with your dad, as Dave Whistle was the organization's very first ever head coach. Is Belfast somewhere you would ever think to sort of settle? You've obviously got an absolute superstar, she is as well, Dempsey. You've got business interests. You're doing your thing on the ice. You're in the GB setup. I mean, where else in the world would you want to be?
No, yeah. Every year, I ask myself that question too all the time, to be honest with you. Now I've been in Belfast for 3 years as a kid and 4 years as a player. This is my 4th season as a player, and then 1 during COVID. So I've been here a long time, to be honest with you, rivaling the time I've been in Canada. And I love it here. Like, I love being here. I love everything hockey wise is great here, to be honest with you. I'd love a little more sun. That would be nice if we could ever get that during the winter time. But,
guys don't believe that it gets sunny here. They all arrive here whenever it's terrible, and then we get that lovely kind of July, August. Yeah, it was
okay this year when guys first got here and they had about 2 weeks of sun, and I'm like, don't get used to this. We were golfing every day. I know.
Enjoy it while it lasts, boys.
Yeah, it's good. I love it here, and I think kind of like you said as well too, kind of growing up as well as a person. Like, when I first got here, I think people sometimes forget kind of how young I was when I first got here. I was 21, 22, living away from home really for the first time, kind of across Europe as an adult. Obviously, you learn a lot of things. So I think now as I'm getting older, you kind of do a lot of things off the ice a lot more better, take care of your body better. And you just I know goalie, when you're saying about the calmness there, a lot of goalies kind of hit their stride a little bit later than players, kind of in that late 20s to early 30s. And that's I think it just comes with experience and age. Yeah, look at that.
There he is. Look, baby West, man.
Yeah.
That's what a time. What a time.
Ruffy's kid, I think.
Who, sorry?
I think is one of those kids, Jason Ruff's kid, I think, as well, too, maybe.
That's incredible. That wasn't yesterday, mate.
No, that's a lot. I lived here from 5, 6, and 7 years old, I think it was when I was here. So it was a while ago.
Yeah, it's Jason's Ruffles kid. Yeah.
Oh, well played, Davey. Nice. It's a beautiful story. It's very special. Something very special that us as an organization has. And I think
Braden.
Right. One last thing.
Braden and Brandon playing.
One last thing before you let you go. It's a bit that I love doing, especially when we've somebody on like yourself. Wes, obviously you were you're the reigning player of the month, but it's time for the player of the month for November, brought to you by our friends at Phonacab. We asked everybody out there for their nominees, and we've whittled it down to 4. Number 1, Jackson Whistle.
Attaboy.
Number 13, Steve Orry.
Yeah.
Number 29, Colby McCauley. And number 88, Derek Angeli. Right, I'm going to start with you, Joel, but we're going to get the list last. We're going to start with you, Joel. I always start with Davey, and I realised this the last time, but it's not fair. Joel.
I can't spend the entire interview talking to him like I'm Big Dave. Like I've literally I've given him the old Dave Whistle treatment here. I can hardly pick anybody else. I'm like, I'm so proud of you, son. No, Wes, you've hauled a really tough road stretch onto your back. Primarily between yourself and Peyton, obviously playing more minutes, and for me it has to be your number one, Jackson Whistle. And I know that's not great for continuity because he gets it back to back, but I'm sorry, that's my choice, Paddy.
I will say the last person to win it back to back, I think, was Tyler Beskorami.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice.
Who's your shout for?
I can't believe that Gabe Bast and Scott Conway have not made the shortlist this month. I just can't. I cannot figure that out. Gabe Bast has been playing 25 to 30. People need to watch the games. 25 to 30 minutes a game. What is it? 10 points plus 8 across a month. Scott Conway 17 points, leading the team by a distance. Steve Ory's 11 points, for example, across the month. Scott Conway has been absolutely superb. Six points on the special teams as well. But out of that group, you know, just because Jackson won it last month, and it wouldn't be fair to, you know, hog it there, because I think if they win it, they have to buy breakfast or something. So I don't want to know that.
Sorry about that.
Spread it around. So I'll go with Steve Ory. He's came up big in a few games, especially down in Sheffield, doubleheader there this month. So yeah, I go for Steve Ory.
I haven't cast my vote yet, but I think it'll be between Steve Ory and Jackson Whistle, I think, for this, because like both of you said, I think Jackson, you've done phenomenally over these last six games or so, especially on the road, the way that we've been playing and the adversity we've faced, and some of the, you know, that save against the Nottingham Panthers was out of this world. The way you've got back and just sort of loved it, fantastic. There's some brilliant parts, and like you say, Steve Ory also with some big goals, considering that he was a little bit snake bitten to start the season, and now he's finding the net with more regularity. So I'll sit in the voting booth and I'll choose between those two. Jackson, who would you choose?
I'm going with Steve.
Nice.
You want Steve? Why so?
Right. I just think he's been rock solid this month, and kind of like you said, I think he was a little bit snake bitten at the start, and I think he's battled hard to kind of get through that. So I think he deserves it.
Fantastic. Well, the voting will open on Thursday morning on Twitter, at AVFTB on Twitter. You'll be able to vote from all of those four, and big thanks to Phonacab once again for sponsoring the award. And finally, a big thanks to you, Wes, for joining us. Finally, a homecoming this weekend against the Manchester Storm. Must be good to get back into that dressing room again.
Yeah, 100%. I was kind of, eyeing this one up on the calendar as soon as we had that last one in November, and just thinking, okay, let's just get through this road stretch and, do our best. And now we're back home and getting ready to play in our own barn in front of our own fans. I'm really excited about the two games coming up.
Fantastic. Well, listen, thank you very much for joining us. Good luck this weekend. We'll catch up with you again later in the season.
Perfect. Thank you guys for having me.
Thanks
Jackson.
Big thanks to Jackson Whistle for joining us on the Fan Agenda, brought to you by our friends at Belfast Giants TV. We're going to get to the Friendship 4 in a minute, but a little bit of news.
Yeah, really quickly, Paddy, take a look at the last week in your Viaplay Elite League. On Friday night, the Glasgow Clan broke their losing streak with an emphatic 6-1 win over the Dundee Stars at Braehead. On Saturday, the Stars got a measure of revenge at the DIA, seeing off the Clan 6-3. Elsewhere, the Sheffield Steelers needed a shutout in South Yorkshire to overcome Nottingham after a late Panthers equaliser. That was Corey Nielsen's first game back at the helm. Welcome back. The Coventry Blaze took a 2-1 OT victory over the Devils home from Cardiff Bay, and the Fife Flyers travelled to Aldringham to defeat the Manchester Storm 5-1. On Sunday, Corey's weekend was well and truly ruined with a 3-1 defeat at the hands of the Storm in his homecoming to Nottingham. That's a 0-point weekend for the returning Corey Nielsen, and the Devils blanked the Flyers up in Scotland, making the long trip home with a 3-0 shutout victory. Only a couple of things. Rick Strachan, what year is it, boys? Honestly, Corey Nielsen is
nostalgia tour.
Rick Strachan has returned to.
What did I say? Can I just say?
Called by Paddy on Saturday.
We had a Friday. I made that call. We were yourself, myself, Aaron Murphy, and Sis were talking about this on Friday, and I said I wouldn't be surprised to see Rick Strachan come back.
Absolutely,
and you were laughed out of town.
I was.
Was it?
They never appreciate the greats, mate. Corey Nielsen's assistant coach, Rick Strachan, he's been away from the game since, replacing former Panthers coach Rich Chernomaz, remember him, in 1920, up until the cancellation of the EHL due to COVID in March
1920, that was a long time ago.
Well, that's a long time ago.
19/20. The 59-year-old, who now lives in Nottingham, he's Canadian, has a long association with the Panthers going back to 1990 as a player, and he was originally appointed assistant to Corey Nielsen in 2010. He said, "I missed the game, and the opportunity to work with Corey again is something I really want to do." Oh, friend. Like Corey, I've been watching Panthers from afar since I left, and the chance to work for the club again was too good an opportunity to turn down. And as announced in just a tweet, no news story, no follow-up, no nothing, the Manchester Storm have parted ways with Chase Ruddy, with immediate effect last Saturday for personal reasons. You might remember him from mugging Davy Phillips off the face-off a couple of weeks ago. There's no Dobbs this week.
Mafia came after him. Don't mess with Kevin. Kevin called him.
Well, that sounds salacious. There's no Dobbs this week, and I can't find any trace of a game on Viaplay. So that is your news, Patrick Smith.
Thank you very much, Joel. Right, Friendship 4 weekend time, and what a fantastic weekend it was. The pre-tournament favourite, Quinnipiaic, took the spoils after a dramatic 3-2 shootout victory. Christoph Teller with the shootout winner, but the Bobcats goalie Yanov Peretz sealed the deal with a fantastic save that ended what was a fantastic weekend for him. The Bobcats rang that Templemore Avenue school bell and became the Bell Pot champions. Now, before we chat about it ourselves and get a bit of reaction and interviews, first up, here's what Quinnipiaic captain Zach Metza said to me last week. It's interesting, obviously with the delay due to COVID and the likes, it has pushed it out, and a lot of us here have been really looking forward to the return of the Friendship 4, but for you to have that opportunity and come back as captain this time rather than just being in your junior or sophomore year, adds a real boost to it.
Yeah, especially with that bell, I remember the other guys talking about the trophy you get and, ringing the bell at center ice. So, yeah, I definitely want to do that.
Over to the captain. And what a moment now for the captain, Zach Metza, as he receives the Bell Pot Championship trophy. And Metza will ring that championship bell. Ring that bell this evening. You skate together forever as champions of the Friendship 4. Zach Metza.
So what else could we do? We called them up again. They entered as the pre-tournament favourites, and so it played out as Quinnipiaic lifted the 2022 Bell Pot and won the Friendship 4 this past weekend. Who else are we going to have on but a man we chatted to last week, and a man who said to us that he was really looking forward to, really wanted to ring that bell, and so he did. Zach Metza, welcome back.
Thanks for having me back. It's good to be talking to you again after a successful week.
Before we get to the games and what took place on the ice, let's just have a look at the week's experience as a whole. What did your week entail building up to the games in Belfast?
Oh, it was great. I mean, we flew into Dublin. We got in Monday morning. We were all jet lagged. Got a little bit of sleep on the plane, but not much. Spent the day walking around Dublin, checking everything out, just checking out the town. We had a walking tour to kind of get us moving. Had a great tour guide that kind of showed us around and showed us all the cool spots in Dublin. We went to Trinity College, which looked unbelievable. It was a cool little area. And then spent the rest of the day kind of on our own. We had a lot of free time during the trip, which was awesome. A bunch of us went to the Guinness factory in Dublin. That was something we all wanted to do. We got our faces on all of our own pints, which was fun. I've never had seen anything like that before, so that was pretty cool, and to learn more about how the whole process behind it. Had a great dinner, then went up to Belfast, and Belfast didn't disappoint at all. I maybe even liked it more than Dublin. We got to see more of it, to be fair, but it was beautiful. We stayed at the Titanic Museum, or not at the museum, but at the hotel next to the museum.
Lovely.
We got to check that out, learn all about that. We did some of the Gaelic games. We did hurling and Gaelic football, which was that was a blast. That was fun. We kind of learned about the backstory and the culture and all the pride that goes into those games. So that was really fun to learn about. No, I mean, it was a great experience. Like, we had a lot of free time, so we were all able to check out both Dublin and Belfast a decent amount. And, it was good for us. I was proud of the group for being able to flip the switch at the end and not be tourists anymore and understand we had hockey games to win and get it done. So it was a very, very successful trip.
I guess when you go to away games or away trips and you go on the road with your team, you don't really get that opportunity to have that sort of wider experience in the area, especially now coming over to Ireland and going to Dublin and going to Belfast and that. And I know that on the morning of the games, I went for a run just around like that Titanic Quarter, and there were a lot of guys just wandering around, just soaking up the atmosphere around the quays.
Yeah, 100%. I think you have to, and it's a very unique trip for us. And again, being in a beautiful area like Belfast, you kind of got to be able to check everything out, soak it all in. So in the morning, like, our team was pretty good about kind of getting up and moving, getting warmed up for the game, not sleeping in too late, being tired, all that. So guys chose to walk around and take in the views, and it worked. It helped us.
Did you guys get the opportunity to go to local schools? Because I know that some teams went out.
Oh yeah, that's something I failed to mention. But we split up. We went to do 2 schools, St. Patrick's, and then gosh, I can't remember which one I went to. But it was, I mean, it was awesome. The kids, I think the kids were very interested, and they had a lot of fun. I think one of the schools they were taught an Irish dance. There's a couple videos of our guys like skipping around, which is so funny to watch. And then we had my school, we had a great group. I mean, they were very interested in us and about hockey, and it was cool to learn about them too, like what sports they were interested in and stuff they do outside of school. Like it's always fun to do that. And then obviously they were a big support for us through the weekend, like at the games. Like they were all the students and even the fans in general, they were unbelievable for us. Like at one point we had a huge "Go Bobcat" chant. Like I think they were on their side the whole weekend, so that was sweet.
Let's come to these games then. You know, what took place on Friday and Saturday of the weekend there, Zach, and the first game against Dartmouth. I think a lot of people thought that, you know, Dartmouth coming in probably had the reputation that they weren't going to challenge as well as they did, but they give you guys a fair go in the end.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, we knew they would. Every time we play them, they play hard. They're well coached. Those guys, you know, they care. They want to win. So it's always a real tough battle against them. And I think Friday showed it was no different. Like it was a battle all the way through. They just kind of stuck around. They found a way to fight and claw and stay in the game. And you know, we just we stuck to it. And then jumping to UMass too. Like, you know, they're one of the top teams this year. Like we knew they were going to be really good. They got some great talent, and kind of same thing. We just stuck to our guns, stuck to our game plan, and just kept battling. I thought we did a good job this whole weekend of any time a team scored or there's some adversity in front of us, like no one panicked. Like we just stuck to it, and we were able to keep chugging along and keep playing our game, and it worked out.
Interesting that you said, because obviously in that Friday game in the third period, it looked like Dartmouth had pulled it back within one, but you guys found a way to pull that lead again. And one of the other interesting things about the game on Friday is something I've not seen before. Really, is 2 goals like that sort of hopped over the goalkeepers and were just sort of batted down into the net. 2 interesting goals. Yeah,
there's some sweet ones. The one that Victor Chenekiner scored. That was sweet. That puck was going a little bit wide. He double hit it too. He hit it once. Yeah. It went over the goalie, and as he got knocked over and was falling, he was able to swat it down back into the net. No, I mean it was a good display.
Victor Chenekiner. There's a name I had to rehearse a number of times.
Yeah,
nice guy as well.
I get it right. I make it up at this point.
And of course, the final you said about UMass, and what a battle that was, going all the way to penalty shots. How were the nerves?
Oh, I hate shootouts. Like if I get chosen to go out there, I'm fine. Like, you know, you're playing hockey, it's fun. But man, I like watching. I feel like I don't even know. Like I think goalie parents have like the toughest job in the world. Like watching your kid play goalie would be the most stressful thing, and I feel that way during a shootout. Like both for the shooter and for Yanni. It stresses me out more than anything because you just, you kind of feel out of control. Like you just can't help. Now at that point you have no result. Like I would have no result watching Yanni go, or no impact on the result. So it's always, those are super stressful. But man, I mean, Yanni just shut it down. Like he's so good. He's been so solid for us, and he was no different.
And that experience, you said to me last week that something that you definitely wanted to do was to ring that bell. Did the experience match up to what you were expecting? Oh
yeah, I think it surpassed it. It was a great feeling. It was a great week. It was 2 hard-fought games. Like it was a great reward to be able to ring that bell. I felt a lot of pride for it. I think we made a lot of people at Quinnipiaic very happy. And obviously, a trip like that, you want to come out on top. Otherwise, it feels pretty disappointing. So the ring that was pretty cool. I really enjoyed it.
And just finally, what do you feel that you've gained, you personally and Quinnipiaic as a team? What do you think you've gained from your trip to Belfast?
Man, I think for me personally, I've gained a lot of interest and respect for Ireland. I loved the whole trip over there. I thought Belfast was unbelievable. It was great all around. So I view it now. Before I didn't really know. It's kind of, you think about Ireland, it's kind of foggy. You don't really know what to expect. But looking back, I just have fond memories. Everything about it was positive. The people, the food, the atmosphere, everything was great. And as a team, I think we came out. I feel like we came out a little closer. We all had these different experiences outside the rink, traveling around, checking out the different places in Belfast and Dublin. Even in the travel, the travel home, I think the travel home was 20 hours, 19 hours or something in total. So even stuff like that, the little battles you go through on trips like that, it kind of brings everyone closer. So I think as a team, we've kind of molded a little bit better and come together more, and hopefully it'll carry on throughout the rest of the season.
Fantastic. Well, listen, Zach, we appreciate your time. We appreciate you coming back on and joining us. Congratulations on that Belpod Championship, and good luck for the rest of the season.
Thank you, Patrick. Appreciate it.
Fantastic from Zach Metsa, and really good to have him back on the show. Great player, and great to see him fulfill that. What he wanted to do is to ring that bell at centre ice. Before we come and chat to you boys against it, we're going to finally check in with a few people who made it happen, as Davy got to chat to them live on the telly box.
Delighted to be joined ringside. 2 commissioners, 2 Steves, Hagwell and Metcalf. Gents, the world changed in 2019. We didn't know when we were going to be back here. It's great to be back.
It's fabulous to be back, to see everybody here in Belfast, here at the SSC Arena. What a tremendous experience for the 4 programs and the student athletes and coaches. It's just great to be back. It's like being at home again.
Steve, just from yourself, just a couple of years ago, we didn't know when we were going to get back here, and here we are. 3,500 kids standing cheering.
Yeah, I was fortunate to come here in 2019, the last time we were here, so that memory is still very vivid to me. And the atmosphere at the games yesterday and today, just spectacular. And so many kids cheering and rooting, and just they've met some of the players in the schools, and then they come to the game, and the atmosphere has just been incredible.
It is a hockey tournament. It is all about what happens on the ice, but there's so much goes on. And I look as a dad of 2, Ruby and Lily, 2 little girls, the opportunities that this comes with as well.
Yeah, no, I mean, to visit the schools and interact with the school children, that the teams get an opportunity to do so during the week. And, I think that impacts not only children here in Northern Ireland, but it impacts the student athletes on the team as well. At least those are the comments, so that's a huge positive.
And then let's take it onto the ice. What a spectacle. We've had 3 fantastic games so far.
Yeah, it's interesting. When I got here yesterday or the day before to the rink, and someone here was asking me, were these games important? I go, don't go and ask the coaches that. Yes, very important. And, we've got 4 great teams, and we knew we were going to have some great hockey. And, today's game is a perfect example of that. One team gets up, the other team comes back, and it's going to go right to the very end of the game, I'm sure.
And Steve, you're synonymous with this now. You've been since the very beginning, since this was thought of. Steve Hagwell's been involved in this, bit of an honorary Ulster man. You must really enjoy your time coming here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just blessed to be part of this. I mean, I remember October of 2014 when Robert came to Boston with Steve Thornton and made the pitch, and here we are 6 years into it. If COVID didn't stop, we'd be at 8, but what a fabulous tournament. And I don't think I'm overstating it when I say it's life-changing for many people, especially me and my family.
And Steve, how do you see this continuing? Can this get bigger, better?
Yes, absolutely. I'm sure it's going to continue. And, we've also been trying to do a women's component where we have some women's teams come over and have the same experience as some of the men's teams have had. And we've done some women's games here, but we want to continue that in the future, but also continue the Friendship 4 tournament for many years to come.
And I'm not sure I will get an answer out of you, Steve, but this game, 3-2 going into the final period, who's going to take away the third place?
Dartmouth.
And later on this evening, obviously, we've got the Bobcats coming up.
I mean, I have to agree with my colleague on so many things, but not this. Clearly, it's going to be Lowell that's going to win the game.
And Robert with us. And Robert, as I said to you a moment ago, the captain taking that bell to centre and ice and ringing it never gets old.
I think back to the first year when I had to tell them to do it. Now we don't. Yeah. It's testament to the fact that education and learning drives the philosophy of the tournament, and it's also a testament to the fact that teams now want to come in here and talk about ringing it before they come.
And Martin, a word for this crowd, not just tonight but across the weekend.
Unbelievable. This is the biggest crowds ever at the Friendship 4. You could feel the excitement. We were in the tunnel there just in the final minutes. The excitement from the players, the excitement from the crowd. Unbelievable tonight.
Robert, this tournament now, 2015 started, we're now in 2022 edition. Bigger and better than ever.
You're right. We've now, I think we need to now think beyond Boston. We need to start looking at teams in the Big Ten and the Western Conference. We need to get more and better hockey teams to come and see what we do in Belfast.
And on that aside, 10,000 children through the doors. We've got to find ice and we've got to find equipment for these kids too.
Ice. It's one of our big challenges now to see what we can do to continue to grow this. I mean, Robert is behind this originally arriving, but the work that's being done, the number of kids that are actually being exposed to this, given the opportunity to see it, hopefully we'll try and find a way to get them a chance to play it.
Gentlemen, congratulations on a tremendous weekend.
Thanks, David.
Thank you very much.
Big thanks there. Great chat with Steve Hagwell of ECAC, with Steve Metcalf of Hockey East, with Martin McGill, Odyssey Trust, and of course Mr. Robert Fitzpatrick, the CEO of the Odyssey Trust, 4 men who helped make this happen. Right, David, how was your weekend? What were your thoughts?
It was first and foremost, if you take the hockey aspect of it, it was an incredible hockey event. Four absolutely blinding games, no quarter ass, none given, hard hitting, fast, unbelievable goaltending, unbelievable size and ability of guys like Skylar Brindamore just stood out for me. Every power play was going into the blue paint. Graf, fantastic. Yeah, he says he gets it a lot.
Sure.
But Graf, fantastic. I think he took the tournament MVP, very high skilled player. Yaniv Peretz and nets for Quinnipiaic. There's so many guys. I think as Simon said over the weekend, something like 34 players have gone to the NHL in this Friendship 4. And I know that we did our little podcast thing on stage on Friday night, and I said that's great, and I hope another 34 over the next following years go. But I'm interested in the ones that are going to end up in Belfast, and there's probably going to be in years to come guys that played this weekend that we'll now know their names because we're a wee bit more involved this weekend doing the comedy and stuff. You'll know their names, and as soon as they come up, he played in the Friendship 4. He was a million. Cooper Black. I seen Yaniv Peretz after the game was having a yarn before I went back upstairs and said to him, like, I know if it doesn't work out in the NHL for you, you can come to Belfast.
Agent Davy.
And he was like, I don't understand what you're saying. And I went, but no, we got and I went a wee bit fanboy and got a picture with him. It was so it was brilliant to be involved. Like, props to David Lowry and all those guys, Bert, Simon, Murph, and everybody that puts that TV thing together. I was just a very, very small cog in a massive wheel. To watch how it actually all goes together behind the scenes is fascinating. It just doesn't, it's not by magic. And then you've got the likes of Michael Barr and all the guys behind the scenes putting carpets out and getting Paro and Glover getting the bell to the right place at the right time, and we Gordy and John Small and all who look after the teams when they're here. There's a brilliant picture of Gordy. I don't know if you've seen it, Gordy, with the other
head
guy,
coach of Quinnipiaic. Oh no, the backup goalie
like
for Quinnipiaic,
6'9" or whatever. But yeah, it was just all in all. I said at the very start of the show, I was so delighted to be home because there's no place like home. But for the level of hockey, to be involved in just a little way was a lot of fun. It was Murph had said to me on Friday, we'll give you a mic, send you down there, maybe come down to you like once or twice a game, mix in a stat. And by the end, I'd gone full, what do you call the guy Bowen from Toronto. I was talking I was just talking absolute nonsense at the end, but it was so much fun. I just got carried away. So I was had a brilliant weekend. Ended up in the bar on Saturday night with Steve Hagwell and stuff, and he was having a really good time. Having a really good time. I think polishing off the last of the Belfast hospitality. He's a one smashing gentleman, absolute smashing guy, and I know he says he comes to Belfast as often as he can. He feels like Belfast is almost like home to him. And I look forward to the next time I get to spend time in Steve Hagwell's company because he's just such a great fellow.
I think from my point of view, the weekend, I only got to spend Friday there because I had family commitments on Saturday. But Friday for me was just everything that I wanted from it. And like you say, from the on-ice perspective, I thought the two games that I saw on Friday were outstanding. I had a very good and old friend of mine from school come and join us at the game, and we had a fun, and he couldn't get over the fact that this had an American audience. This was being played in Belfast. He was like, how many people are watching this, and why are they here? I was giving him the whole rundown of the tournament, and it was like, this is absolutely phenomenal. And it was the game we were watching. You're talking about Cooper Black there, and I chatted to the head coach of Dartmouth, Reid Cashman, about him, and Cashman said that he's in his first year with them, and when he starts to fill out a bit and gets a bit more, he is very athletic, but when he gets a bit stronger, a bit more behind him, he doesn't have a doubt that Black will end up in the NHL because he has the athleticism to play and get down and up and be able to say, all being well, touch wood, no injuries and stuff like that. But he was like, no, that kid's going all the way. And you can see it from a lot of the kids that are playing out there. You mentioned Brendan Moore, you mentioned even like Metza, who we were talking to earlier. These kids have the skills, they have the ability, and the game. And I know I came down to the stand next to you, Davy, in one of the games when you were doing the work for the TV, and down there you see how fast and how much they're throwing themselves into these games. And that was the on-ice stuff. Off-ice, as we said to Laura earlier in the show, I remember talking to, it was either Chantel or Neve at the Giants, who I'd met for the first time in person. It was lovely to meet them. And they're saying, it's going mad around here. We're just everything's being pulled together, and it was pulled together. The amount of kids that were there having a great time. How many of those kids are going to go home, talk to their parents, and say, "I really enjoyed it. And I want to go to a Belfast Giants game"? And that's what it's all about: getting kids engaged in the game, and they're seeing at this high level, get them engaged in the game, and they'll come back. And some of them might be long-term fans. Some of them are like nearly as young as Joel. They might be long-term fans.
Correct.
But I was really sad I couldn't go on Saturday because I enjoyed myself so much on Friday, and it was yet another great Friendship 4. Joel.
Yeah, not a great deal more to add. Firstly, very proud of Davy. I think you smashed that, mate. The clips that I've got to see,
here.
Consummate professional, and it makes me fanboy a little because despite what Patrick Smith thinks, I spend my summers watching NESN in North America, watching the Boston Red Sox be absolutely terrible as they've been in recent years.
September.
To see my boy, here he goes again. Look. To see my boy Majimsi yucking it up on a mic on this and was very, very cool. Really proud of you for that. But yeah, like you asked questions there to the boys in those clips about the growth and development of the Friendship 4. And I think Alan Price absolutely smashed it with that comment. I agree. From sitting watching that final, this was the best Friendship 4 that there has been by quite a long way. Firstly, the hockey. I think in the years since the Friendship 4's inception and since I've started to watch NCAA hockey in person, had the privilege to do that, I think that the physicality and the hitting and the intensity has actually ramped up year on year. I thought that even just the check-in and people finishing their hits that you never really would have seen in the earlier years. That final was a showpiece of a game for anybody. You didn't have to be a hockey fan to be completely absorbed by how that final played out and the manner in which the Belpot was won. I think it was absolutely sensational. The noise from that pretty much capacity crowd without the East Tier being out was as loud as I've ever heard a Belfast Giants game. Genuinely as loud as I've ever heard a Belfast Giants game. I thought it was absolutely incredible, and I thought in terms of it being the comeback after being put on the shelf for 2 years, you worried that it maybe would have lost momentum, that it maybe wouldn't have had the same captured the same imagination as it previously did. All of that was completely washed away by a sensational weekend, and full credit must go to Robert Fitzpatrick, obviously, for being the brainchild of Steve Thornton, but everybody who puts their shoulder to that and makes it what it is. I think we're very, very privileged to have it in Belfast.
You could rhyme off the names there, Glover, and the amount of stuff you mentioned Michael Barr there. I must have bumped into Michael Barr about 100 times the other day, because he was everywhere doing everything. You talk about the volunteers like Gordy, Brian, John Small. It's some of the work that goes on to sort of
all the ladies upstairs selling 50/50s and shirts to their back.
Yep. Absolutely. It was great to just see old faces as well, just walking around, seeing all the.
I wouldn't call them old faces, like Paddy. You're braver than me.
The same faces. And like you say, the guys working on David Lowry and the team behind that what was going and like I was chatting to Nigel Ringland and I saw Colin Shields and all the guys. Just a phenomenal effort all the way around and what was just yet another.
Who bought a pint on Saturday night?
Sorry?
Who bought a pint on Saturday night?
Who?
Sheds? And it was a shock to me as well.
Attaboy, Sheds. Attaboy. It must have been for that lovely coffee you brought him on the road the other week.
Oh,
and I think from the point of view of what we heard there from Robert Fitzpatrick, and one of the questions we chatted to, I don't know if did you get a chance to chat to Joe Britannia, Davey?
Oh yes, I got about 10 minutes with Joe, which was fascinating. First of all,
interesting guy.
Pictures of his little office in his house and stuff, and all the sports memorabilia that he's got around. So I've actually got a bit of homework to do for Joey. He wants some stats. So
does he? But Joe Britannia was obviously he was the Hockey East commissioner when this all began, and he's one of the guys.
This blows my mind, Paddy. I had a sit down one-on-one with Joe Britannia, and he's given me his card. He's told me what he needs from me, and he's like, "Anytime I can do anything for me, just throw me." It's like.
The man's connected
just
as
talking
well.
About hockey in their bedrooms, and like Ralph Cox, just shake my hand, and Joe Britannia.
It's weird, isn't it?
It's weird, isn't it? How we get.
He's just gone, and he's just gone off to Cortina because he played in Cortina. He played hockey in Cortina. He's just gone off there for a bit of time in Italy, and he's just obviously he's working his connections for that Olympics that's taking place between Milan and Cortina in a few years' time. But Joe Britannia was there. Had a great chat with him, talking about all the effort. And one of the questions he was asking is, how do we grow this, and how do we make it bigger? How do we make it better? And evolution, I think, is grow it into other conferences, grow it into other teams, and we heard that from Robert Fitzpatrick earlier on when you chatted to him and Martin McDowell on the ice. Maybe we move into other conferences, we bring in other colleges, we look beyond that northeast that northeast of America, and we see who else we can bring in. Sky's the limit with regards to the Friendship Four. We see how successful it is and how many teams want to ring that bell. One note being, a very good friend of ours, formerly of this parish, Neil the Coach Russell, is in Florida currently. He chatted with a very famous ex-NHLer, brought up this tournament, and the first thing that that very famous ex-NHLer, who I'm not going to mention, Coach, don't worry, said, the tournament where they ring the bell. And that goes to show that a level of how unique it can be, a trophy like that and a tournament like that can be, that it can transcend other things and go right through the hockey world. And that's a credit to all those who put this Friendship Four on, and long may it continue.
Just one statistical note, obviously Quinnipiac Bobcats came in number 4 in the country. After their weekend, their rankings popped up to number 2, only second to only Denver in the NCAA standings. So, like, to have the number 2 team in North America, NCAA North America, over in Belfast at the weekend, coming out top of the pile, probably deservedly so.
Yeah, congratulations to them, and a big thanks to Zach Metza and to Cameron Boone, who helped us put together that interview. Right, let's rattle this off. Let's end this show, gentlemen. We've got 2 games this weekend. Let's get back to the Belfast Giants. We've got 2 games this weekend. We are back in the SSE Arena. Belfast Giants will take on the Manchester Storm on Saturday and Sunday. Saturday at 7 p.m, Sunday at 4 p.m. Get yourself down to the SSE or watch it with Simon, who was also going coast to coast North America on TV during the Friendship Four, but he will be back in his Giants TV seat behind the microphone to call those games. We get down to those games if you can. That's Saturday at 7 p.m, Sunday at 4 p.m, and that's the games against the Manchester Storm. Any other business?
I have one very quick piece of any other business. People out there, I need your money again. When Mark Garside, Belfast Giants all-time leading games getter, Mark Garside had a little baby in the summer called Quinn. Quinn's doing well, but Quinn had a tough start to life and spent a little bit of time in NICU in the Ulster Hospital Neonatal Intensive Care Unit. And the Garsides, like a lot of people do whenever they go through a little bit of adversity in the hospital, they want to get back because the staff in these wards are under pressure all the time. So they want to do a little bit of fundraising to put a bit of money back into the pot. So for our side of it, I have a Mark Garside game worn jersey. I'm going to sell 100 tickets at $5. Everybody that puts a £5 note in will get a signed Mark Garside photograph, and you'll be put in the draw for the Mark Garside jersey, and you will get to meet Mark after a game. As soon as we have the 100 tickets sold, you'll get to meet Mark after a game, who will sign it, sign anything else you want, and take pictures with you, sing you songs, be generally lovely, and be very grateful. And we'll be able to give, we're hoping to give around £500 into his little pot. So I'll put that up on AVFTB, and I promise I will. Neil Russell, I will follow through on this one. Give me pelters last week because I've been saying for 15 years now, you know, tweet me, I'll read it out. But
I'll get back to you.
But yes, we're gonna. So over the next couple of days this week, there you go. There's another neonatal. So expect some tickets. That's good. Patrick W, you will be first on the list then. And let's help get those 100 tickets sold. Spread the word as much as you can, please.
Great to be sent the message in by Patrick Vonka, who knew he was still watching If You Can the Bridge.
What a guy.
Anything from you, Joel?
Nothing for me. Another packed show, boys. The only thing was well done to everybody who made the sledge hockey happen at the arena this morning. There's some great photos that the Giants put out.
Oh, yes.
This afternoon, I saw Dahi was down with Marcin and a whole squad of guys out enjoying the ice. So it's just how it should be. Everybody should be able to get involved and do their bit. And there's been a lot of departmental help in making that happen. And there's so much goes on around that organization that does so much good. It's you could sit here all night and yammer on about it. And we often do.
We often do. It was good to have Laura on this morning talking about all the other sort of things that have been going on. But it's fantastic. One last thing for me. Congratulations to a man who I know watches the show every week ever since he left Belfast Giants. That is Ryan Kuwabara. No doubt he's watching. So a big shout out to Ryan Kuwabara, the former Belfast Giant, the former playoff winner for the Belfast Giants, has just been named as the new head coach for the Niagara Ice Dogs in the OHL. Now, if you don't know Ryan Kuwabara, if you've never heard of Ryan Kuwabara, great player for us. He once punched Nate Leslie in the face, broke his nose, and broke his own hand in the process. Look it up on YouTube. It's
one punched.
Broke his hand. Broke Nate Leslie's nose.
Yeah,
phenomenal player, really great player, Davy. And one of the reasons you talk about Steve Thornton in that team, Ryan Kuwabara in that team, Kevin Riel in that team. That was some great players, and Ryan Kuwabara is one of them.
What number did Q wear, Paddy?
72.
Ooh,
close. 70 something.
How am I supposed to know? This is before
I think he was 71, Paddy.
He was 70 something.
I think he was 70. Great player, obviously of some form of Japanese heritage as well, wasn't he?
He was. He played in the Asian League before he came and played to us.
Yeah.
And according to a message that I've just received from Karen Lynch, he looks like Hugh Bonneville. You know that?
Nice.
Jim Lynch says 71. We're talking all about Lynch's. Jim Lynch says 71.
He's great.
Hi, Lynch's. Let's wrap the show, boys.
Okay. I was going to say something.
No, go on ahead, David. Nobody's watching anyway.
Producer says no, Paddy. So next week.
Should I wrap it up, Joel? Is this where we end it?
Come on.
Right now?
That'll do it. That'll do it,
That's
boys.
it. But listen, gents, we will wrap it up. Like I said, those 2 games for the Belfast Giants back in home competition this weekend. The Manchester Storm are our guest. Saturday at 7 p.m, Sunday at 4 p.m. Get yourself down to the SSE Arena. And if you can't, Belfast Giants TV is where you will find all the action with Simon Kitchen. Let's hope we have a couple more bodies on that bench coming into those games as the Belfast Giants will come into what is no doubt going to be a busy Christmas period. Big thanks to Laura Small. Big thanks to Zach Metza. Big thanks to Jackson Whistle, of course. Big thanks to the guys at Infinity 21 for the footage and for the interviews with regards to the Friendship 4. Big thanks to you, Davy, for putting together all the goals. Big thanks to you, Joel, for putting together all the news. Big thanks to everybody. It's a big thankful time.
Thanks, everybody.
It's just been Thanksgiving, so thanks to everybody. We're going to wrap it up there. You can get us at AVFTB on Twitter. Don't forget to vote in Player of the Month, which will be up from Thursday morning. And you can get us on kingdomofthegiants.com, on Facebook, on YouTube. And I've not done any TikToks in a long time, so who knows, that's probably going to fade away. And on that, wherever you are this weekend, we hope you enjoy your hockey, and we'll catch you here next time on A View from the Bridge.
Still you rise.